We all have those days when everything seems to go wrong and the weight of the world feels unbearable. But what if I told you there's a philosophy that's been helping people through hard days for over 2,000 years? That philosophy is Stoicism. In this video, I'm going to share some Stoic advice for getting through tough times. These principles aren't just abstract ideas. They're practical tools you can use to find peace and strength when you need it most. We can divide into key principles that help us to remember and apply in our hard times. Number 1 is to recognize what's in your control and what's not. One of the foundational principles of Stoicism is the dichotomy of control. The Stoics teach that the first step in dealing with any challenge is to clearly distinguish between what is within your control and what is not. What's within our control? Our thoughts, our actions, our attitudes. What's outside our control? Everything else. Other people's actions, the past, the weather, even certain outcomes of our efforts. By focusing on what we can control, we liberate ourselves from unnecessary worry and stress. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And this means that no matter how chaotic or difficult your circumstances may be, you always have control over your response, and that's where your power lies. Let's say you're facing a tough situation at work. Maybe a project is going south, or a colleague is being difficult. Instead of getting overwhelmed by factors outside your control, like your colleague's behavior or the project's outcome, focus on what you can control: your effort, your communication, and your attitude. By doing this, you'll feel more empowered and less stressed, because you're directing your energy towards what you can influence. Next, we have number 2. Practice negative visualization. One of the Stoic practices that might seem counterintuitive at first is negative visualization, or premeditatio malorum. This involves imagining the worst-case scenario, not to dwell on it, but to prepare your mind and appreciate what you have. When we face difficulties, our minds often spiral into fear and anxiety about what could go wrong. Negative visualization helps to ground us by confronting those fears head-on, reducing their power over us. By imagining the worst, we're less likely to be caught off guard if things don't go as planned. Seneca wrote, "Rehearse them in your mind. Exile, torture, war, shipwreck. All the terms of human suffering should be before our eyes." This might sound grim, but it's liberating. When we're mentally prepared for the worst, we can handle challenges with greater resilience and calm. Let's say you're anxious about an upcoming event, like a big presentation. Instead of avoiding the thought of failure, imagine it in detail. Picture what would happen if things went wrong, how you'd feel, how others might react. Then, think about how you could respond constructively. By doing this, you'll be better prepared for any outcome, and the fear of failure will lose its grip on you. Next, we have number 3, embrace the present moment. Another key Stoic teaching is the importance of living in the present moment. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reminded himself that we only ever live in the present. The past is gone, and the future is uncertain. What we have is now. When we're going through a hard time, our minds tend to oscillate between regret over the past and anxiety about the future. This mental time traveling can make our current situation feel even worse. Stoicism teaches us to bring our focus back to the present, where our real life is happening. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." And this doesn't mean ignoring the lessons of the past or not planning for the future, but it does mean not letting those thoughts dominate our minds, especially during tough times. If you're struggling with a problem right now, try to bring your focus back to the present moment. What can you do right now to improve your situation, even if it's just a small step? Mindfulness practices, like focusing on your breath or observing your surroundings, can also help ground you in the present and reduce feelings of overwhelm. Next, we have key principle number 04, accept and love your fate. One of the most powerful Stoic ideas is amor fati, which means love of fate. It's the idea that we should not only accept what happens to us, but embrace it fully as part of our journey. This might seem like a tough pill to swallow, especially when life throws us curveballs. But amor fati is about cultivating a mindset that sees every experience, good or bad, as an opportunity for growth and self-improvement. Instead of resisting or resenting our challenges, we learn to say yes to life as it is, not as we wish it were. Friedrich Nietzsche, who was heavily influenced by Stoicism, took this idea further, suggesting that we should live in such a way that we would welcome the exact same life, with all its trials and tribulations, over and over again. This might sound extreme, but it's a powerful way to transform suffering into strength. When you're facing a difficult situation, try to shift your mindset from, "Why is this happening to me?" to, "How can I grow from this?" Embrace the challenges as part of your story, part of what will make you stronger, wiser, and more resilient. This doesn't mean denying the pain or difficulty, but rather integrating it into your journey with acceptance and grace. Number 5 is, remember, everything is temporary. The Stoics often reminded themselves of the transient nature of life. Marcus Aurelius would frequently meditate on the impermanence of everything: our successes, our failures, our pleasures, and our pains. This isn't meant to be a depressing thought, but a liberating one. When we recognize that all things are temporary, we can approach both the good and the bad with a balanced perspective. Joy and sorrow, success and failure, they all pass in time. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Observe constantly that all things take place by change, and accustom yourself to consider that the nature of the universe loves nothing so much as to change the things which are, and to make new things like them." This teaches us that even the hardest days are just moments in the flow of life, and they too shall pass. On days when it feels like the world is crashing down on you, remind yourself that this too shall pass. Everything in life is in flux, and your current struggle is just one phase in a constantly changing journey. This perspective can help you maintain hope and resilience, knowing that better days will come. The Stoics understood that life is full of challenges, but they also believed that we have the inner strength to face them with grace and courage. By focusing on what's within our control, practicing negative visualization, staying present, embracing our fate, and remembering the temporary nature of all things, we can navigate even the toughest days with resilience. If you found these Stoic principles helpful, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. And remember, the next time you're having a hard day, turn to these timeless teachings for strength and guidance.